Hey,
I think
Wonders,
it's started. Hi.
if you're out there, hello. We just got
I'm
done watching the finale.
so exciting. I can't believe we just finished watching the last Once Upon a Time episode ever, unless they reboot it.
It still hasn't hit me yet. Like it just hasn't hit me. I don't know why.
You know what? I think I'll notice it next fall when there's suddenly
Yeah,
no Once Upon a Time and no podcast to do and anything like that. So that's
we're
going to
not
be a
trying to.
little sad.
When is the show going to come back? We have to coordinate our schedules so we can do stuff. That'll be weird when we don't have to do that.
I know. I totally agree. So, oh my goodness. All right. So, I'm just pulling up the live chat. So, if you guys are watching, if you're signed into your YouTube account, you can leave comments live next to us, which is awesome. Um, and we'll try to respond to them. Although we tested this out last night and there's a little delay. So, forgive us if we don't see everything. So first impressions, Brittany, tell us what do you think?
I
What
mean,
was your
there's so many things that I love, like little nuances. I really liked the throwback to Sorry I'm Late, but it was Emma interrupting. That was really cute. I mean, there's just so much to process that happened. Is Blue dead? Like, is Blue coming back? Is she okay?
what happened? What happened
What
to
happened?
her?
I feel really bad since we accused her of being like the ultimate evil for 5 years, and she just is dead now, I guess. I don't know. That made me pretty sad.
I didn't think of that until you mentioned it. I mean, I do think Once Upon a Time missed an opportunity to make her the ultimate bad guy, but I do think it ended up being kind of cool that Rumpel was the ultimate bad guy. It was Rumpel versus Rumpel, and it was
Yeah.
probably a better iteration of that storyline than the storyline with like Regina versus the Evil Queen. It was almost the same idea, but I actually thought it was more effective in this way. Partly because it only lasted like 3 episodes. I think
Right.
more of
Yeah.
it would be really annoying. Yeah.
I agree. So with everybody now in Storybook, like every realm is in Storybook now, which is great. But also Storybook was in the past. So this means there are two Reginas. Well, three, because there's Wish Realm Regina, Regina in her current timeline, and then our Regina that we know. And then like two different Henrys, because Wish Realm Henry, or three, Wish Realm Henry, Adult Henry, and Henry that was just going off on his adventure. So I mean, I'm not meaning to like get hung up on that or anything, but that's just like that's kind of blowing my mind a little bit.
Brittany, I sort of just tuned you out there because, yeah, I don't know how many people there are, but
It's a lot. It has to be a lot. I don't know how they reconcile. I mean, I don't care. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's not my job to figure it out anymore. So
I'm so relieved I don't have to figure out the timeline anymore.
yeah, I'm really glad that there's none of that. But hey, it's easy access for a reboot because it could be anybody that just happened to be there from any realm. You know, oh yeah,
Yes.
caught up in this curse. Now it's time for our own adventure. So easy spin
Yeah.
off reboot.
I don't mean to like look 5 years in advance right now tonight because we should be talking about the finale. But honestly, there were so many loopholes and things that they definitely left that would work well if they ever want to reboot this show. I could just see
Everything comes
Netflix
back in the
trying to
fashion.
bring it back. Yeah, exactly. All right, so we have a couple of people who joined us. So I just want to say hi to
Guys.
B. I don't know your full name, but your name is showing up as B. And I'm glad you've joined us. So you're welcome. We're glad to do this for you. Anna joined us. Hi. And no, you're not the only one who wanted to see Neil in the afterlife with Rumpel. I think that would have been really cute. But that would have been emotional too, but almost it's something that they really dropped the ball on Neil the entire series.
Yeah. This show gave up on giving us anything good with Neil ever again. So, I mean, after, because he had that little appearance in the underworld with Emma and her bug, and that was effectively it. So that is kind of crappy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, at least they did that. So that's better than nothing, you know? But it just, Neil has never been well treated in this show. And he was a fan favorite. It's kind of shocking because this show has done a lot of fan service over the years.
Mhm.
And a lot of fans liked Neil. So it's very strange that they never really did much with him. So Lindsay also joined us. Hi. And Anna, again, you commented Henry's apartment number was 815. Yeah, exactly. Did you catch any other like subtle references, Brittany, in this episode?
Well, Henry's apartment number has been 815, so that was a throwback to Lost. And I think that Regina's address in Storybrooke is the house number is 815. I think. I can't remember for sure. But I didn't catch any other like shout outs to Lost references. But as far as references to kind of the beginning of the show, I think just going back to Storybrooke in general was a huge reference type deal. But I don't know. I'm still digesting, and I'm sure by the time we record our actual podcast, I'll have thought of more things. But right now, about 15 minutes after, I haven't absorbed everything yet. Of course, the biggest callback was Regina's coronation taking place in the same place that she decided to curse everybody. So that was a really good callback.
Yeah, I agree. And good disclaimer there, because guys, remember, this is not an official podcast. It's a little bit like we used to do Facebook Lives from time to time. We finally figured it out for the last episode.
Very last
to do it together. So we're just doing, this is kind of like a first impressions or a chit chat or, you know, like first reaction kind of thing. And we will do an actual formal podcast episode, of course. I know we've been off for a few weeks while we've waited for everything to pan out. And I'm actually glad we did that, because now I think we have a lot of amazing things to talk about that would have been difficult to talk about like one episode at a time, especially since this finale really felt like a two-part finale. It felt like a continuation from last week and this week. It felt like those two really should have aired together. So I was especially glad we did our little kind of break thingy, not really a break, but just waiting, because this felt like a two-part season finale, and I'm glad we get to talk about it all at once. So yeah, just friendly reminder, we will be having an official podcast episode come out probably next week. Actually, we were just talking about when we're going to record it, so you should be able to get it next week. But okay, so hello to everyone who has just joined. Fan service. Okay, so the scene with Robin and Regina. Lindsay brought it up. Lindsay said fan service, not me. It's Lindsay's fault.
I mean, I agree with Lindsay. So
yeah, me too.
I mean, here's the thing. I've had a lot of thoughts about the ships on the show as we've done the podcast, and I feel like at this point, I can just be honest now. Outlaw Queen, for the 4 episodes, it was a good ship, was a great ship, but they really screwed that super early and never fully recovered. They didn't do anything with Robin. So when he died, honestly, I was sad for Regina because that sucked for her. But in retrospect, you can see that they never really gave that relationship any good foundation, and they never developed it. When we interviewed Sean McGuire, he hinted that Robin had this whole backstory, and the show dropped it. And so there was never really any cohesiveness to why would this really good guy be with someone like the Evil Queen. It would have given that relationship so much more context. So that being said, in this, it was really good to see that closure between Regina and Robin. I don't know that it was 100% necessary, other than to make sure that we got to see Sean McGuire again before the end of the show.
I totally agree with you. I didn't hate the scene at all. I think it was good. No. I didn't 100% need it, but I didn't not need it. And it was, I think that they were really smart to make it really short and sweet and just drop it in there. And the fact that she had a dream and maybe had hope again that he wasn't just like whatever Hades did to him. I think that was good, because the worst part about the way he died was just the way he died was so boring. And you know, his whole character for quite a few episodes was actually really boring too, and just because they never gave him a good story, as you said. So the way he died ended up being boring. And it was just like they both deserved better than that. And so anyway, I thought it helped a little to add that little scene in, but it wasn't completely necessary. I mean, anyway.
I mean, I feel like what I would have liked instead would have been a one-on-one scene with Snow and Regina, because they built that relationship a lot. And I just feel like I would have liked seeing that more than maybe the Regina and Robin scene.
I know. Okay. So here's the entire problem with this episode. It was so short.
Yeah.
It was so fast. And also, a couple of episodes ago, they hinted that Zelina's wedding was coming up. And that's okay. I didn't feel like I had to see it or anything. But I felt like they had dropped towards the end of this season a few hints about what was going to, come towards the end of the season. And a lot of that was scratched and they just did other things, which again, it was fine, but I felt like what they did put in was super rushed. And I kind of wanted to see like Snow and Charming happy on their farm with their brood of children or whatever. I guess they only had one other kid.
Just Neil.
Yeah, just Neil. So I really wish they had kind of slowed down a lot of what had happened in this episode and really had fleshed it out just a little bit more, and maybe done this episode over 2 episodes and, had anyway, this episode was really good is what I'm saying. And there were a lot of episodes that were dragging earlier this season that they could have tossed out.
It was good, but it's also the first finale that hasn't been a 2-parter in a really long time. And I feel like I could feel that rush and urgency. They honestly, they could have taken out one episode that was really random somewhere in the middle of the season and just given us a 2-hour finale so that it didn't feel this way. Because again, I wanting to see the people that we got to see, it didn't feel gratifying enough to me. Like, I would have loved to see more scenes with Snow and Charming. Snow gave an amazing speech, though. I mean, talk about hope speeches. We've been missing that for the whole season. Like, that is what has been fundamentally missing from the show for all of season 7. But that Emma part was just so rushed, and it just didn't feel genuine. They could have given more time to Belle and Gold there at the very end. But again, because it was so rushed, it just didn't feel like I got to see everything.
It was like 2 seconds of Emma, which was like, oh, hi, here she is. But she's wearing a red leather jacket. And then
it was kind of funny, though, because like Haggett, like harried mom, like just trying to keep it together, running indoors. It was funny. Hook had like a little safety, like a baby protector thing on it. That was really cute. Yeah.
It was cute. That's hilarious. Okay, I'm gonna have to rewatch that scene before we record our podcast. Yeah, I mean, it was cute, and they did make it a little bit about Regina and Emma, which was they had that little chat, which was very cheesy, as was the rest of the events of that scene. But that was sweet that they managed to fit that in. So I kind of like that too. I'm just glad we saw Emma and real Hook, not Nook. And by the way, I'm also glad that Nook didn't die, because like I was so convinced he was going to die, and that was really freaking me out and distracting me.
Yeah, I'm really glad that he didn't die too, because he was probably the best. Other than Robin and Tilly, well, Alice, those 3 were like the best parts of season 7 for me. Like, I really like that. But is it weird that like in the very last episode, after just Ella and Henry being so hyped up as the ship, there was one scene where they were in the snow globe together, and that was it. Like, they had no other scenes, nothing else. Like, for this epic romance, they just dropped it. Like, it didn't even matter anymore, which was crazy to me.
That may be partly our fault, because the writers listen to our podcast. No, I'm just kidding. I know we were quite negative this season about Henry and Ella, and I do know that they had a few fans, which is totally great. If you enjoyed them, that's good. Although not good for you for this episode, because they gave they paid no attention to them.
Right.
But I did feel like they started to taper off on that Henry and Ella thing towards the end of this season. And I really do think that was maybe a response to the fans just not finding too much interest in that storyline. Because again, that was another thing that I mentioned a few minutes ago. I just felt like all through this season, they were kind of dropping some hints and hyping up a few things that they might do later in the season or to wrap up the season, as they normally would. And they just didn't do them. And one of those things I really feel like was Henry and Ella, like probably, having a little bit more of a grand finale. But instead, they made it about Henry and Regina, which was really interesting because, it wasn't tonight's episode. It was a few episodes ago when he broke her curse. And then in this episode... Sorry, it's been a long week. Friday night, guys. So in this episode, though, it was also about the 2 of them, because Regina really had to confront a young, wish realm, angry, angsty Henry, which was a really interesting idea. Did you like that, by the way? Because I'm like,
didn't hate it, but I just kept thinking there has to be an easier way. Snow and Charming are here now. Hey, Wishrealm Henry, let us explain to you, since you don't believe the evil queen, cool, that's fine. But hey, let us tell you what this Regina has done and why she did what she did. There were so many easier ways to accomplish what ended up happening anyway that it just kind of blows my mind a little bit that it went as far as it did. That being said, Regina would do anything for Henry, any Henry. And I've always thought that the premise of this show is because she wanted Henry. I mean, we started season 1 with this battle between her and Emma to keep Henry and to keep this curse going so Regina could keep that happiness. So that was a full circle kind of thing. So I didn't hate it, but I also feel like probably could have solved that problem faster.
I totally agree with you. Snow and Charming were there. That would have been like, oh, episode over. Now we can watch Selena's wedding or whatever.
Right. Well, then we could have had so many other things. Yeah,
the Matt Archer wedding too. There were a lot of weddings.
I would have loved to see Alice and Robin get married. That would have been cute.
Alice and Robin were amazing because they perked up this season, I felt, because they really had this story that was the kind of heart and the charming aspect of the romances that we always saw all along on Once Upon a Time. So it was really fun that they did have such a reasonably large role for new characters in this last episode. So that was really nice.
Relationship they should have been hyping up this whole time. And I feel like maybe they did pull focus back from Henry and Ella to focus more on, because we were afraid that we were going to get like just random tidbits of Robin and Alice and they wouldn't really matter anymore beyond their episode they got. So I'm really glad that we were wrong. And that we had this cute little scene of Robin asking Hook for his daughter's hand in marriage. That was so cute. So I like that a lot.
Yeah, that was a good choice. Okay, in our chat feed, there's a little questions debate going on.
Okay.
So all of the Henrys that exist, how many Henrys exist and where are they?
Okay.
And they're all in the book, or they're all in what?
Okay, I got this.
Go.
First of all, they're all in Storybrooke because every single realm is there. So we have adult Henry and Ella and Lucy. And then we have Wish Realm Henry, who I guess he's getting his anger management issues under control, probably with the help of Archie. And then we have somewhere out there the Henry that turns into our adult Henry, but I'm assuming now he's off on adventures. But doesn't that create like a weird paradox where that Henry is going to make all the choices the adult Henry made, effectively sticking them in a loop forever and ever and ever or because all the realms are in Storybrooke now, he never actually has to leave, which kind of sucks because that's all he ever wanted to do was leave. So yeah, so now the Henry that was accepted into all these colleges and was going to go off on adventures, when we saw that flashback when Henry woke himself up, I guess Henry doesn't have to leave Storybrooke after all. So we still have a teenage Henry in the mix.
Okay, so
two teenage Henrys in the mix.
What a nightmare. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry, Henry.
Regina is living. She loves it.
Remember, she got lonely, so that's why she went to the Wish Realm.
She has 3 sons. Regina was lonely. She now has 3 sons. Congratulations.
Yeah, way to cure the empty nest syndrome. Mm-hmm. There we go. Okay, so let's talk about, what do you guys want us to talk about in the chat feed?
We're not going to have anything left to talk about in the podcast.
I know. That's why I'm like, we can't talk about everything. But let's just for 2 seconds talk about the ending with Regina as the good queen. First impressions.
Little cheesy, but I mean, I loved the costume that she was in. That dress was really pretty. For a second, you didn't like that dress? I really did.
It was very fairy tale Princess Glinda the Good Witch fluffy cupcake.
I feel like that was the point, probably.
Yeah, but that's not Regina. Like, I want Regina to be like the badass good queen. You know what I mean? Like rock and roll.
Let her get past this formal event and she'll be back in whatever it is that she wears as mayor and it'll be fine. But I lost my train of thought. I have no idea what I was going to say now. So I'm hoping that if I keep talking, I'll remember what my train of thought was, but it's not happening.
Tracy had a question. Which Henry was at the coronation?
We had the Henry from the Wish Realm and adult Henry with his family. I don't know where the other Henry is. He's gone. He jet set it off to college or something, I guess.
All right. Lindsay says she was crying hysterically in the ending. So what made you cry the most, Lindsay? Which one? Which part? Which character?
I have to say, I thought that I would get teary-eyed, and I did not.
No, well, you know what? I was so afraid that Regina was going to die, especially when Robin came back. I figured that was him saying, like, oh, don't worry, if you die, I'll be there for you, whatever. And I was like, we're not going to go live tonight if Regina dies.
I will be having a meltdown. But I do remember what I was going to say. I thought for a split second, because her dress was like this white color, and then both Henrys were on either side of her walking her down an aisle. For 2 seconds, thought that somehow Robin came back from the dead and she was going to marry Robin. Like that thought crossed my mind for a split second.
Well, me too. That's exactly what I thought, actually. I was thinking that for a good 30 seconds while she was parading in. And then I was like, this would be so fitting because then someone can crash her wedding, and it could have been Emma because she wasn't there. And so it just would have been like full circle, but I didn't really want that to happen. But yeah, that's exactly what I thought was going to happen. Mm-hmm. And it would have been like a cute other sort of ending. Yeah. So oh my goodness. Okay. Someone wants us to make a timeline of the entire series. I'm not doing it. Amanda's not doing it.
How much money are you willing to give me to do that? Or alternatively, you could come clean my house. I would not turn that offer down to tackle this timeline.
Okay, so chat with Brittany, follow her on Twitter, make an offer.
Get with me, Britt_Duke. Make me an offer I cannot refuse, and maybe I'll get you a timeline.
Okay. So Tracy thought it was the Mad Archer wedding. That would have been something. But I think because they were relatively new characters, I do think they were reserving that last scene for the old school Once Upon a Time characters. So I'm not surprised they kind of backed off on them, but
I also feel like it would have been weird to escort Regina into someone else's wedding the way that they were escorting her in. That would have been awkward.
I also just like how Tracy left the comment in the chat, mayoral wardrobe. I know exactly what you mean. That is the Regina wardrobe.
Yes.
She should rule with that. Like, why couldn't she just be the mayor of Storybrooke again? They could be like, we give you this key to the mayor's office. And, I mean, you know,
she's like the president now of the entire realm. So she has to then elect governors of each independent realm. And then I'm guessing like it's basically like the government, I guess, just with fairy tales.
She's a bureaucrat in a really pretty cupcake dress.
I would leave this dumpster fire today if it meant that I could go where Regina is president.
Real thoughts from Brittany. I would definitely take Regina over certain politicians. Anyway, moving on. I think that they closed this series as well as could be expected under the circumstances. I still feel like last season was definitely the other finale. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like if you watch season 6 and just wanted to kind of end there, then you could really get by with it. It almost reminds, it's not that this season was so bad. I know we were kind of hard on it, especially in the middle there, but it really feels like this season had 2 closures. Mm-hmm. So I think that was all right. I think that was all right.
Well, I mean, we've gotten confirmation that had the season ended last season the way that it did, it would have been on that same cliffhanger of Henry opening the door to Lucy. So that kind of would have sucked because that was the plan all along, whether they got renewed or not. So that would have sucked. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, that
would have been bad.
At the same time, though, I do agree. Like, we got that closing montage of like Snow and Charming and Neil, and like we got those montages of everybody just being happy, and that's what I was really hoping for this. Like, one more glimpse of everybody in their home. So I am a little bit disappointed that we didn't get that, but I'm not totally like that ruined it, you know. So.
Although now that you're talking about it, I think I really do like that they ended on a scene that really mirrored one of the first scenes in the entire show. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like with being in that, what is that room? Like the throne room?
Like the coronation room, or like what would they call it on the crown?
The royal wedding room. Hashtag royal wedding.
Just in time. We didn't have a wedding, but you know, we got a throwback just in time for the real royal wedding.
We almost had a pre-royal wedding on Once Upon a Time.
Almost.
Yeah, but anyway, I'm glad that they did go back to that room because, you know, when I think of the very first part of this series, what comes to mind is obviously Snow and Charming and that whole sequence. That was amazing. But also, I really think about that scene when Regina crashes Snow and Charming's wedding. And so I think it is nice that they chose one of those scenes to kind of mirror. And I don't think they did that last season. I don't think they did that.
No.
Yeah. So in many ways, that was a lot better. But some people I also saw on Twitter mention that they didn't end with like the words "and they lived happily ever after." So
what a missed opportunity. What a missed opportunity. I cannot believe that they didn't do that. Although I was looking at old episode titles, and that also included Once Upon a Time in Wonderland. And Once Upon a Time in Wonderland actually ended with "they all lived happily ever after." So I feel like maybe they didn't want to seem like they were reusing something. But then again, why did they waste that on a spinoff of their show? Like, I don't understand why they did that to begin with.
I don't know. All right, I'm just monitoring Twitter. So apparently Rumble fans are happy that we were nice about Rumble.
I'm not mad about Rumble. I was never mad. No, I mean, I feel like they should have.
We've always liked Rumble.
Yeah, I mean, what I've been mad about with Rumble is how Rumple treated Belle. Like, it was never about the relationship. It was just about how it just never got any better. It never felt like it got better. Though, I mean, it certainly got better at the end of season 6 and into season 7. It was wonderful. I feel like they deserved, after everything they went through, they really did deserve more than just that scene. Rumple didn't even speak. Like, why? He didn't even say any lines. Like, what was that? I mean, overall, I'm so glad that we know that they're happy in the afterlife, being them. Oh, hello, Belle. But I just, they
look, guys, don't tell me I don't like Rumble and Rumple and Belle, please. Excuse me. I have the mug to prove it. Anyway, let's not dwell on that. I actually did really love how they wrapped up the Rumble story. It was weird that he didn't speak, now that you mention it. But it was exactly as I expected it to be. And I felt like that was the fitting end I was always expecting for Rumple to have. And in many ways, they couldn't have given us that ending without having this season, because, you know, how would they have managed that? They could have been like, oh, you know, Rumple and Belle, they're happy. And I guess they did that at the end of season 6. But this kind of this upped it a notch. You know what I mean? It gave it more of that epic love story quality. And I had comparisons of it with Titanic, like, because it had that Jack and Rose meet in the afterlife on the Titanic kind of feeling to it. So I thought that was super sweet. And I really loved it. And even though it was predictable, it was the kind of predictable that you like on this show. You know what I mean?
We needed that predictable.
It was so on brand. It was so, it was the right kind of predictable. And I think, you know, a lot of people have been hard on us and whatever. No one has to agree with us, you know, over the years, because we've been podcasting for quite a few years, and I'm sure we've said stuff that everyone disagrees with. But back in a couple of seasons, like that season, late season 3, 4, 5, there were definitely a lot of things that were dragging, and we were kind of hard on Hook for being like little puppy dog with Emma. So I don't want to go back over that kind of stuff, but you know what I mean? Like there were definitely times when a lot of characters had stalled out, and that was when you got really annoyed with Rumple for just being like not being a good boyfriend, basically. So but I like that Hook story this season, and I'm sure we'll talk about this more on this week's actual podcast episode, but I really did like the Hook story this season because it was kind of the Hook that I had always wanted to see, and it was neat that they were, I guess what they did is they took the love interest story out of it, and so we got to see another side of Hook. And I think that side of Hook was kind of the side of Hook I always needed to see. And it like made me ship Hook with Emma more because he was more multidimensional. And of course, none of this makes sense because it was Nook, not Hook. But you saw a different side of his personality this season. And I really like appreciated that. So I think what I'm saying is like a lot of stuff that happened in this season, they did take advantage of the opportunity that they had to kind of clear up a few things with a few characters and really just show us a different dimension. So I think that was good.
I agree with you. I think that my appreciation for Hook really started probably like season 5, like mid-season 5 maybe. But it really came full circle with being able to see other kinds of character development with him. And it was really great. We're not going to see, unfortunately, Hook being a dad to Hope because the show is over, little baby Hope. But we know what he would kind of be like as a father because we got to see Nook as a father. So it kind of fills that void. It's just, I really liked it. I really appreciated Nook. Nook for MVP of the season, I think.
So someone asked us earlier if Nook is now the dark one.
I don't know how that works because I didn't realize that Nook didn't have a heart. I thought his current heart was just poison. So does he have 2 hearts in his chest now? Did one absorb the other one? Is it like a conjoined heart twin situation? I don't know. Also, how is that Rumple's heart so good? Like so red? Is it because he spent a billion years with Belle getting old, or while she got old and it went pure again? Like that's the mechanics that I can't get into tonight, and we'll have to talk about when we record because I don't.
I'll let you think about that one.
Yeah.
All right. Another thing to think about in the feed, they're asking about Gideon. We didn't see Gideon.
What about him?
True.
What about him? He's off.
He has no parents.
Yeah,
it's very Disney. He has no
Who's
parents.
gonna tell him that his parents are both dead now? I mean, but although technically there still should be a Rumple in Storybrooke because we were in the past, so there should still be a Rumple somewhere.
This is just a great loophole if they want to reboot the series. So you could basically...
Unless killing that Rumple, like, killed all the Rumples. I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. There's no telling.
I want to know what happened with Catherine and her law degree. I'm just kidding.
She probably blew that popsicle stand such a long time. As soon as that Cherna board came to Storybrooke, she was like, I am out for good. See you all later.
All right, other silly things. Henry apparently was considering going to Wisconsin to college.
Yeah, of all places, like USC, Wisconsin. I mean, I'm not saying one's definitely better than the other, but I'm just...
Wisconsin does have a good, like, university, I think, whatever. That one is good. I've heard of it before, so it must be reasonable. But like, why? Was that, like, a shout-out? Anyway, if you guys go to the whatever university in Wisconsin, let us know.
Who in that cast or crew is a graduate of Wisconsin University? Like that had to be some kind of shout out.
I think so too. Yeah, I agree. I think so too. So another silly thing was, wait, what was the other silly thing? It was even sillier. What was the other silly thing that happened this episode?
I don't know. I don't remember because the college thing definitely wasn't this episode. So,
okay. Oh no, it wasn't. You're right. Sorry, I don't know why I'm coming up with these things.
Because there's so much to talk about that we need to talk about, but we got to save some stuff from our episode.
I know, but I had another silly question, and it may not be from this episode either. Like, it was just things that, because I haven't talked to you in 3 weeks, that I've wanted to
Right.
talk about.
Yeah.
What was it? It was something. It was
I did.
something
I
about
was
characters.
excited to say something about my favorite Cruella. First thing out of the gate hits on Henry. Like, that's my drunken princess right there. So glad that she did that. It was just really cute. It was good to see her. I missed Cruella. She was the love of my life.
Yes, that was the other thing, and it was from this episode. It was Maleficent. We found out that Lily's
her dad is Zorro. How random. And you know what I immediately thought of was not Antonio Banderas as Zorro. It was freaking Puss in Boots from Shrek. Like, that is what went into my mind.
I thought of Antonio Banderas. I don't know what's wrong with you.
I don't know. And maybe the fairy tale element. I don't know. Don't judge me.
The spinoff has to cast Antonio Banderas as like the main character, and they can just do the whole Lily, and he turns into a dragon apparently, and then like, sorry for the hand thing. Then he like, I don't know what that was. So then, with Maleficent, what? Zorro?
I guess, sure, whatever. Okay. I mean, we know that somewhere Don Quixote exists, so why not Zorro?
Let's just have a Kristen Bauer von Straten and Antonio Banderas spinoff. I'd watch that. Like, I want that this summer on Netflix.
I mean, sure.
I'll take it.
I'd watch it for Maleficent.
Yeah, I know. She was great. So what else? Okay, Zorro. Yeah, everyone's freaking out about Zorro too. We're not the only ones.
It was just such a random, like, we didn't even see, we were panning over trees. We didn't even get to see like an actual conversation. It was such a throwaway.
I know. Yeah, it was a voiceover too. It was like the Harry Potter flying car scene kind of.
Yeah,
kind of. Like they're talking and chatting, and I don't know. I didn't know what I was watching. I was thinking about setting up the live feed for tonight. So someone said Rosalva? I hope. Oh, yeah, Rose? Anyway, mentioned that Adam always posts about Wisconsin sports. So it must have been, it was maybe a shout out.
Yeah. He maybe went to the school there. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
What else are we going to talk about?
People are just saying fan service and Zorro. So I think you guys are on the same page as that.
So here's the hilarious thing that happened. Granny will just pull her crossbow. If you are not a familiar face, if she's never seen you in that diner, be prepared to die, because she is not messing around.
Yeah, I mean, they're like, they probably could have spent an entire episode of Mad Archer. Sorry, I'm just calling them Mad Archer going through Storybrooke trying to explain who they are, and everyone being really confused, so pulling out their spreadsheets and trying to sort out the timeline and take notes and be like, wait, you're how old now? Really? Okay, there you go.
How funny was Elena just being like, yes, take your selfie and move on. Just, yes, I know I'm famous. Take your picture and let's go.
I love her, and I will miss her so much.
I will too. I was a little sad we didn't get to see Tiana doing anything. I didn't care what it was, other than just, and it wasn't even a good shot of her. It was so fast. Because I really liked Tiana. She was pretty. She was smart. She was a good queen. She had some really good character stuff. And then, again, we just didn't really see that through.
Yeah, Tiana was another part of this season that was like, added a bit of breath of a fresh air. And she was really helpful to this season. But I honestly didn't expect to see her too much tonight, because I kind of knew last week it really felt like they were wrapping her up, because she was like, I need to stay here and be with my people. And she had the last speech.
Right. Yeah, I completely forgot about that. You're right. Yes. Although I guess with all the realms together, she was there at the coronation. So sure, why not?
Okay. Yeah, I know. That worked.
So now that all the realms are together, who is going to finally be like, Ivy, you son of a bitch? We have some things to talk about.
That's true. That's true. Oh, they're like, you're not off the hook that easily.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Grumpy will come after her. Grumpy will be like, he'll hear that story. He'll be like, girl.
Granny with her crossbow. Like, I'm just really surprised though that when, again, we should be saving this for the podcast, but I'm really surprised that when that curse broke, nobody went, Regina, you just let her go through a portal. You just let her go. What are you doing? I don't know. Very weird. The person that should be the most upset is Ella. Like, she should have been like, Regina, why did you let this person go? But whatever.
I guess they're all happy and in love now, so it's okay.
Sure, why not?
So,
I'm afraid if we keep talking, we're talking over each other. There's a lag. But I was going to say, I'm afraid if we keep talking, we won't have anything to podcast about.
No, we won't have anything to podcast about. It's true. We could keep going. It's that YouTube said we could actually live stream for 8 hours. So I don't know how many few people want to watch us for 8 hours, but we better not do that because then we'll really have no podcast left for next week. Actually, if we live stream for 8 hours, we could cover the royal wedding.
I will be in bed when they're getting married, so I'll catch it on BuzzFeed.
It's 6 a.m. Central and 7 a.m. Eastern. Not that I looked that up or anything. All right. Oh, and by the way, one last comment from the feed. Never mind. I lost it. Oh, we didn't see Ruby.
Well, Megan Ori actually tweeted that because of her schedule, she just unfortunately couldn't make it work. But she did leave this really sweet tweet about, being on the show and all that stuff. So I knew that she wouldn't be there, which was sad.
I know. And by the way, Anna in our feed is really obsessed with Where is Catherine? So I'm sorry.
That should be, I feel like that should be the new story. Henry should start a Storybrooke podcast called Where's Catherine? And it's dedicated to tracking her down, like a true crime podcast or something.
Yeah, good podcast idea. You can go ahead and use it. We'll give you our blessing. Okay, so we will have a new podcast episode out this coming week, should be. And it may be our last podcast episode ever, or it may not be. We'll kind of see how it goes. We will wrap up this season, of course. We'll talk about the last 3 episodes that we didn't podcast about, which I have started to confuse as one episode, as you can tell by some of my comments earlier. And then, so in that podcast, we will definitely have a more formal discussion than this. This was just a really fun first impressions chat. First time we ever did this. This was so much fun. And
first time and last time.
First... Maybe, unless Once Upon a Time is rebooted and we're here in 2 years and we're like, hey, we're back. So it's sad. I don't know. Sorry, I'm laughing at things people are posting in the feed. Okay, so make sure you're subscribed so you get that episode. And make sure that you send us your thoughts if you want to on Twitter or Facebook. Let us know what you thought. And we all need answers, we all need answers. So, Brittany, any last final thoughts from you?
Hashtag justice for Blue. I am about to do a tweet storm on Adam Horowitz asking about the safety and integrity of the Blue Fairy. I need her to be okay.
All right, that's a great Friday night activity. Okay, guys. All right. Thank you so much for joining the live stream. Really enjoyed it. The video, if you missed part of it, the video should save and be posted so you can watch us again. Be silly again. All right. Take care. Bye, everyone. Have a great weekend.